have you ever seen Succession on HBO?
I need to finish it. I haven't finished it.
It's done, dude. Yesterday.
I
And
know.
it could have went like 4 more seasons, but they stopped, and it was a brilliant decision. And it's just like good for you. Don't that's what Terrence
especially with
says.
especially with the writer strike going on, like the quality of the show would have nosedived.
It would have been yes.
How do you make a show that relies entirely on his writing without writers? Like, yeesh.
I am my fingers crossed for House of the Dragon.
I am bracing myself. Oh yeah, no, I am bracing myself for House of the Dragon and Andor being not good in
Rings of
season
Power.
2.
House of the Dragon, they like honestly, they don't have to do much to make it great. They're in kind of the meat of the war at this point, and
but there still has to be good writing. I don't even. I think it's going. They're filming it, right?
I think though they have some loophole where I think most of the writers are under the UK Writers Guild. So
oh boy,
it's like I think I hear House of the Dragon is not as negatively impacted as apparently Rings of Power is. That's also a joint American British production, but apparently it's WGA that is handling the scripts for Rings of Power. So
yeah, well,
it's
no love lost there.
Well, Lofty likes it.
I wish. I want Rings of Power season 2 to be good. I want Halo season 2 to be good. I don't want like I feel like there's a lot of people who are like hoping that these shows are even worse than they were
in season 1,
so that they can like make videos about it, or so they can like roast it.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm not a making videos on bad content guy. So like that's not at all the reason I would think it's gonna be bad. I mean, like I honestly did give Rings of Power a chance because you said to watch the second episode so that we can go on and talk, and I just wasn't into it. And for me, that's kind of where it ends. Like you notice, I don't really spend that much time on the show. I spent a lot of time on Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
because Obi-Wan like really got me.
All of Halo. That was
experience. I watched all of Obi-Wan because I couldn't believe how much worse it was getting. And at least Halo, I would still be able to segment off Halo to be like, okay, well, at least they said it's not canon. It's its own thing, its own timeline.
It's sad how many bad shows there are. It really is.
Yeah.
They're almost all bad. There's a few good shows, but it's
you too, man.
Kyle just went oof like 50 times.
I can't even comprehend watching those shows all the way through. I watched like half an episode of Rings of Power, and I said, yeah, this. And I barely started watching Obi-Wan. I think halfway through episode 1, I'm like, yeah.
I did not like any of Obi-Wan, but I was actually consistently surprised with how much worse it got every episode.
Oh, and by the by, Lofty, I didn't even watch the Halo TV show. I heard he took his helmet off, and I said, nope.
Oh, you got to see his butt.
I said, nope.
Helmet off.
That was not even the worst part, dude. That was not the worst part.
Nope.
Oh,
he has master cheeks.
The show in which Master Chief bangs human female arbiter replacement.
Yeah. The Covenant is the Covenant is well known for liking humans. Yeah, go f yourself.
Yeah.
Look, I don't care about the helmet. If you take his helmet off, that's the same thing as like Link speaking in a movie. Like it doesn't. I don't care, but at least make
violates his entire character.
You know. I mean, he had it off at one point when he was a kid. I mean,
Master Chief has had his helmet off over the course of the franchise, but
we don't see it, which is the point.
Well, I mean, you do if you beat Halo 4 on Legendary, you do get a glimpse of his eyes.
Yeah. No, but
it's actually pretty cool. I like that.
If they're gonna take the helmet off, they have to have the character. They have to write the character well, and the show has to be good. Otherwise,
that's kind of the big thing.
Like if the show was a masterpiece and he took his helmet off, I wouldn't give a fuck. I would be like, this show's incredible. But that's my one nitpick. Oh well, the show's still good.
Ultimately, it's again the hubris of just like we're gonna take your thing and we're gonna change everything about it, and it's gonna be better. And if you don't like it, then it's you who is the problem. But so have you been doing?
Good. Street Fighter, and that's it. That's all I've been doing lately.
I've been kind of playing mostly Diablo. I'm playing it right now with one hand. I'm leveling my druid casually. And man, friggin', I know it's Alex. It's Alex made a video on how to get Battle.net and Diablo 4 running on Steam Deck.
Yeah.
So I started playing Diablo 4 on my Steam Deck last night, and decided, well, I'm sitting here in bed. I got some time to kill. Why don't I just make myself a druid? Oh, the druid is fun. Yeah, I got him to kill. But I make myself a barbarian too. So now I have one of every character class, and I was up until like 3:30.
Oof. Is that was like am I wrong, or does this game not resemble Diablo 2 in the same way that so I'm not a huge fan of this genre, but I was like, if the customization is good, maybe I'll try it. But apparently the progress customization is kind of limited. From what I hear.
Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by limited.
Like I like games where you are constantly upgrading your gear and your weapons, and they look different, and there's like you have a unique character that doesn't look like anybody else, and the gear like the upgraded specs of the gear are visually represented as opposed to just like numbers. But apparently Diablo 2, that's how Diablo 2 was. It was very like there was a ton of different like kinds of armor sets and weapons and stuff, but I don't know.
No, I mean, yeah, like your armor has like visual representation on your character. You can choose to transmog any item you want at any time, up to and including just say you want to see your character's face. You can just say, hey, the look for your helmet will be as if you're not wearing a helmet, but you still get those stats. So at any point you want, you can disconnect the stats from the look of the thing. You just need to have that item. If you want to just go for stats and do like a fashion build, which I mean, honestly, I just kind of do anyways, because I find that if I don't, I end up just looking insanely discombobulated for most of the game until you get into like your end game gear sets, right? Like if you're at the point that you're constantly re-equipping things, then you always look kind of silly I just had the transmog thing on, so it's just like, okay, I found a little outfit that I'm cool with just being my guy's look for now. And then every time you disassemble an item, you get that model for transmog. So you're incentivized to disassemble a new item that you get, because it's basically like you're adding it to your own collection of cosmetics. And and I found that kind of like I've flat out have disassembled things that I probably could have made a lot of money selling, because I'm just like, I like the look of that thing. I'd like to make all my bows look like that if I want to in the future. So I'm I'll bite the bullet and just scrap it.
I'm kind of disappointed in the Street Fighter customization. It's not as good as I thought it would be. And the character,
the created character, or
but I'm talking about like the outfits and the gloves and the hats and things like that. There's like
for the created character, or for like the
for World Warriors. For World Tour.
Oh yeah. So your avatar.
Well, I gotta get a manager or better scheduling or something.
I just did the math on the two things that you were talking about. If I combine them, just knowing where last time you were on Sitch and Adam, are you going on Sitch and Adam to argue against Shad about AI art?
No way.
Okay.
I don't even know, dude. They just said come
on.
Well,
no, just I know Shad has some takes on AI art, and you were arguing with Shad the last time you were on Sitch and Adam, and you mentioned AI art, and then going on Sitch and Adam, I was like, wait, that would be funny. Back on to debate Shad.
No. Well, my thing is, it's such a misnomer. It's such a misnomer, because it's not AI, and it's not art, and it can't be art unless it's an actual AI. An algorithm cannot create art because it lacks the basic fundamentals of art creation, which is intent. The algorithm doesn't actually have intent.
You make it. You prompt it to put an image out. That's all it is. But it looks like you would hang it on your wall. It looks nice.
Yeah, sometimes, but sometimes it completely f***ed up because it doesn't actually know what it's doing. That's why I say it cannot be art, because it doesn't actually know what it's doing. Right. You can maybe think it knows, because you're like, oh, this prompt is relatively accurate, but the algorithm is just
KJ. Yeah. Just there's a lot of artists out there that aren't that great. I mean, I'm not making the case for AI art. I'm just saying,
AI art.
I've seen a lot of art pieces where it's like, this guy doesn't even know what he's doing here.
And to be fair, you can use AI art as a tool for like concept art that's not like finalized. You can use it as a tool for panel, like constructing a comic book panel, and then you'd be like, hey, this is what I want, and then you tell an artist to kind of do their own version of that, and then there's a bunch of different ways you can use it. It's like if somebody was trying to sell me a comic book with only AI art, I would be like, what am I paying for? Why? Like, where's the money going? There's no artist.
I think that the better question would be if you read a comic book that was written by your favorite writer, and it was done by listen, and it was done by a new artist, and then you got to the last page of that art, and it said all art in all panels drawn by Midjourney, as written by the prompts and the person's writer. Like, if it's like, hey man, if I didn't know the entire time I was reading through, like, can I say that this is not art? It's like, hey, it's
no.
It's
art. It's real estate.
Art that was made as
what it is.
But it's saying though it's a good writer who you really like, and he was the one doing the prompts for the art. So he was like, hey, this is how I got the art for this issue of this book that I wrote. It's a good book and good prompts that created good art. And I put it together in a comic book as an experiment. Turns out really good. I think there are a lot of people who just be like, yeah, still, never mind. Burn it, never let it happen.
I know. I don't have a problem with that.
Jojo, it's okay.
I think people are talented with using AI, that they can make some stuff look really cool. But I have a problem with buying and paying for our AI art, because I want my money to go to an artist, and I want my money to go to a writer.
True.
And if it's only going to a writer and then there's just a guy who pumps out images, I would have to know that guy's actually like putting in a lot of effort, because otherwise I'm not paying full price for that. It's just
but those can't be copyrighted, so you could always just rip it off. So because for me, I feel like you'd have to be a real hack to use it, because you're setting yourself up for people just to rip you off, because you can't copyright it. So they can just rip it and just republish it. And it's like, whatever, you don't own it. Because
I know.
So
that's another whole. Yeah, you're right.
Don't do it. It's not worth it. Don't do it.
Enjoy. Played Diablo 1, 2, and 3, but never played WoW. Actually, I've played WoW for 3 months. Not for very long though. It was okay, but it also took up a lot of my time, and I was worried that it would prevent me from talking to any and all girls for possibly the rest of my life. And I'm not even kidding. I'm not even saying that in jest. It's like, no, actually though, because I was in university, had just broken up with my high school girlfriend, and I basically just wanted to do nothing but play World of Warcraft, and figured, hey, I should maybe not let my last year of school be spent burning time in an MMO, because holy hell, I was playing something like 35, 40 hours a week while going to university, like, and keeping up. Like, I wasn't failing. I didn't fail. I have a degree. And and also having multiple jobs, because I would work at a video game store and at the army. Like, I would have an army reserve job where I was a musician at that point in my career. It was actually kind of a fun job. But like MMOs just burn time. I find though Final Fantasy 14 is quite good. I've been quite enjoying it. If anything, they've just done not nearly as much with Overwatch as they could, because they I don't know, what would be the word for it? They fell down the let's appease Tumblr rabbit hole. And so, but like, I mean, honestly, even just like, if people always make the joke about like, hey, Blizzard always just turn characters in Overwatch gay if they ever have a controversy. And I mean, they do that, but I'd say the bigger problem is the like banning people and stuff like that. And that would be like, okay, well, you can't have the OK hand symbol. Okay, yeah, someone named McCree at Overwatch got charged with sexual improprieties, and now we got to change a character in the game's name. It's like, yeah, man, no one would have known that. You didn't have to tell anyone that. You didn't have to tell anyone that the guy had an impropriety charge, or associate him to the character. But then they do. I don't know. It's odd stuff like that I always think it's like, man, you guys can make Overwatch so good if you just focused on making good stories with the characters, and things that keep people engaged in the actual content. Like, hey, there should have been story content for Overwatch like the year after it came out. really. They should have been making, like, as Classy Vigilante was saying, with like characters in other games like platformers and upcoming fighting games. Yeah, well, I mean, like, those are full-blown new games, but I think for Overwatch they easily could have done little side story type things where you just play as Genji and you do this little campaign mission, and I think that would have gone quite well. Yeah, I remember when those first Overwatch character shorts came out, I was just like, geez, they could just keep making these forever. And like, if they're all like short little Pixar, they basically just turn the Incredibles into a superhero game, right? Like, but it's a multiplayer game where they could keep adding forever. It's amazing how hard they failed on Overwatch 2, though. Like, it's actually kind of nuts. It's like, what, you guys, I think all you guys did was you kind of ruined Overwatch 1. Overwatch 1 is now not nearly as big as it would have been if you just never even said we're going to make Overwatch 2. Because Overwatch 2 just is Overwatch 1, just with, you know, new visual update. Like, same maps, same modes for the most part. That campaign's still not here, so what are we even doing? I missed the Gollum train, and that's one I'm happy left the station without me, thank you very much. I never thought I would say this about any subject ever, but I am happy that Mueller didn't say, hey, I really need you to do this in order to be on this EFAP to talk to us about some stuff. Because there's not a lot of things that I'd be like, oh man, seriously? Because most of the things I would be expecting to hear that afterwards would be a movie. And ultimately, I've seen a lot of movies. I can sit through one and be like, okay, let me analyze why this is 2 hours of my time, 90 minutes of my time, whatever. I'm not burning 10 hours on Gollum. I'm sorry. Like, I can't do it. I don't have the time. And also I miss the wave. So like, it's like, it would be one that if someone bought it for me, I'd actually like feel bad, and I'd probably just buy you a game and be like, yeah, I'm not gonna play this, but here's a game of equivalent value. Please do not buy me another copy. And yeah, that would be it. And I do not want it, and I'm not being ironic. I actually mean that. There's plenty of things on my wish list that I would absolutely love to have someone buy me so I could stream. Gollum is not on there, and it would not be on there ever. So please, no one make me play Gollum. I really don't want to. Though I did enjoy watching that EFAP. Oh boy, that was good.
A lot of these old dungeons got changed too, which is kind of nice for newer players.
Yeah, I was talking about this one. This final boss got changed, which definitely saves a lot of time.
Much easier.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone caught side scrollers, but I was actually kind of hoping that we would have got more into the games as a service talk, because we basically tangented into a very long discussion on Diablo 4 and then never got back to the concept of games as a service and how to do it in a way that is ethical, you know, like we're not just trying to scam your customers by making them pay for the game that you've sold them in 7 different ways, even though you realistically could have just sold them all at once. MMOs are kind of interesting, that especially, I mean, I don't have tons of experience with a whole lot of them, but this one, at least in particular, has just so much breadth and depth, and the everything I'm hearing from you guys about things like them changing up dungeons, because that's not the first time I've heard that while playing this with you guys. That is the kind of thing that really kind of justifies the amount of money they're charging for this experience, because it's like, no, they're not just forcing the people who like playing this game to pay an entry fee every month for no reason. They are actually doing work all the time, and it makes me happy.
Yeah, and Yoshi P's team for development and level design and whatnot is probably what JMac did. Was it like 15 people?
Yeah.
That pretty much designs this entire game.
Huh.
Compared to like WoW, where they have like a couple hundred.
I think that's why the vision stays so tight too. You know, you can tell, just especially in the later expansions.
Yeah, in this fight, this guy used to spit poison puddles, and if he stood in the poison puddles, he'd heal himself.
Yep.
Oh man, that sucks.
Super annoying.
It just.
Do you just have to outpace his healing, or is there a way to?
We had to keep moving him around the arena. So imagine the arena was double this size. and you had to move him around away from the poison puddles because they're as big as his hitbox. Super annoying.
Yeah, it's fun playing with my wife and the later content. She's just beat Heaven's Ward, and you know, a lot of those bosses get pretty technical.
I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to pushing ahead on the Heaven's Ward stuff.
And she's I think we just beat the last dungeon right before you start Stormblood. So.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Is there a big cycle of patches between Heaven's Ward and Stormblood as well, or is it just?
Yeah.
Okay. Although they really stuck the landing on those. I do wish they were a little shorter though. I felt like I had to do a lot of work.
I will say though, if you just bang them out, it goes pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I did for the last stretch of them.
I have flying in all those zones too, so I flew my wife everywhere before she unlocked it in all the maps.
That's fine. I do enjoy Lovecraftian fiction. Isn't that right, Baby Rocky? Baby Rocky's seen too much. He's gone insane. Too much of the truth has been revealed to him.
I mean, case in point, we both love Bloodborne.
Yeah.
And that's pretty Lovecraftian. I've seen people like, no, it's not. It's like, yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah, it's extremely Lovecraftian.
It's
Who said it's not?
Based in, like, Cthulhu mythos. Lovecraft.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the main problem I think a lot of people were having with things like God of War Ragnarok, when people are adapting mythologies and flat out just being like, yeah, we're not doing it ultra accurate, we're telling our own story set like within this legend and using the pieces of it that make sense with our story, but we're gonna move things around and have different names for certain things, and it's not like, so don't be expecting super accurate Norse mythology from it. And I think God of War Ragnarok especially is a very well written game, and it's so weird when people's counter argument is like, yeah, but Odin didn't do that. And I'm like, yeah, I know there was no Kratos in like actual Norse mythology either, so I mean, this can only get so accurate, right? But I think that Bloodborne's use of Lovecraftian and even like sort of more gothic Victorian fiction like Bram Stoker's Dracula and things like that happened earlier on in
look at the ride to
game.
Cainhurst.
Yeah, exactly.
That's straight out of the 1930s Dracula movie.
Exactly. There's a lot of old gothic horror fiction in there, like Victorian horror fiction, as well as the Lovecraftian stuff that happens later on. And I would think if anyone doesn't get the joke I was making about Rocky going insane because now he knows too much, is that's kind of the idea, that your insight goes up as your frenzy levels and stuff start increasing, and eventually you go insane just because you gain too much knowledge of the truth. And that's kind of the deal with a lot of Lovecraftian fiction.
It is. I mean, but at the same time, too, like I said, it's Lovecraftian. It's just not the Cthulhu side of Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Like, because the nightmare stuff and the Hunter's Dream, that is also very Lovecraftian. He's got a whole thing called, a series of short stories called The Dream Cycle. And he's talking about a dream world.
I don't know. I think you could even make the argument that like Cause is essentially a proto Cthulhu type creature, or even Moon Presence, like the one at the end. Like, I mean, they're all sort of, and I guess Amygdala almost looks exactly like Cthulhu.
I mean, yeah, they did a good job. I mean, the whole thing is like, I think they did a good job. I mean, I also appreciate, I was telling this to a friend last night, that I actually really appreciate FromSoft storytelling.
Yeah, it's very abstract, but in a way that it's clear that they thought about it.
Yeah. I mean, look how many lore videos still come out to this day for games that have come and passed. There is a metal band out there that's very much so FromSoft inspired.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a band called Soul Mass. Like, they straight up did a whole 8-minute song telling the story of Artorias.
That's pretty good. I mean, a lot of quality content in that story, though. Including
they have a song called Praise the Sun.
And a very good doggo. So I believe Sif is a female doggo.
Yeah, I would think so, because she's always referenced as she.
Yeah.
And if FromSoft says something, they're being deliberate about it.
Yep.
But yeah, that Soul Mass band, their current album that came out this year is all Bloodborne oriented. They did a song referencing the it's not the Exterminators. What were they called? The ones that didn't like Canehurst. The boss you fight in Canehurst Castle.
Yeah, I mean the guy that kind of looks like Gwyn from Dark Souls.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. That guy. He was part of it. The guy with the conical hat and the wheel that kills the queen.
Yellow paint. Apparently this is a PlayStation exclusive. Yellow paint to shirt where to climb. It's a thing. It's one of the things that Breath of the Wild doesn't do, which is why people were saying it's a better open world than Horizon. Because it's like, well, no, Horizon is not bad, but at the same time, like the climbing in Horizon is pretty limited, at least in Zero Dawn. Like you don't really do anything. You follow a path. It's just you're climbing instead of walking upward. Persona is a good example of weak game mechanics that people endure for the story. The dungeons were pretty repetitive, but the Persona art was nice. Find each monster's weak element and exploit, rinse and repeat. Yeah, but sometimes, especially as you get later in the game, in the Persona games, finding out their weakness is its own challenge, and you got to figure out your best way to do it fast, because it's like sometimes they have really powerful attacks, and every so often the enemy does not have a weakness, and you got to just do what you got to do, and beat them down the old-fashioned way. But I like Persona's combat quite a lot. I think there's enough flexibility in it, and you have enough options to do different things in different ways, that figuring out ways to chain staggers between attacks and constantly be having every enemy not doing anything, and the game requiring that. Like the game saying, like, no, the only way to win this game is to constantly be knocking your enemies out of their major attacks and making them dizzy and then doing damage to them and not letting them actually do anything to you at all. I think that's kind of a cool concept. And, like, granted, you still get hit. Your characters will still take a lot of damage in Persona, but it's learning the weakness, finding the way to exploit them, and then figuring out how to organize your party in a way that you can have access to means by which to test an enemy's weakness. Oh yeah, and it definitely is an inherently conservative battle mechanic, but you can do cool things with simple mechanics, and I think that lots of JRPGs that have good combat systems tend to be that. It's not them doing anything crazy, flashy, and weird. It's a simple combat mechanic that is just executed very well. Or a few simple, like obviously a system of them. And in Persona, it's the out-of-combat stuff that is really complex in its design. Hey, Abe, how's it going? Abe was also at the meetup, and was wearing a Green Ranger shirt. Always been a fan of the Green Ranger, too. The best of the Rangers. He was the only one who had depth. And, I mean, honestly, that's not far off. They all had, like, one or two things going on, but the Green Ranger was basically the only character on that entire show who ever had an arc. Of the original run. I mean, I'm not talking about all this random spin-offs. I haven't seen every single episode of Power Rangers, but I like Power Rangers, man. Power Rangers was fun. I was like, yeah, you know what? It'd be cool to be a little superhero team and fly big robot dinosaurs which combine into a Voltron. Yeah. I'm happy that American audience, like Western audiences, had a chance to see something like that was kind of made for them, you know, like was at least enough made for them that it seemed like their own cultural product, even though it very much was an imported Japanese show that was kind of reshot with a little Saved by the Bell scene in it, you know. Kind of odd how the White Ranger was white, the Black Ranger was black. Well, I mean, actually, those never happened at the same time, sir. I will call you out, O Snakes, on a slight misinterpretation of events, because you're right, Trini, the Yellow Ranger, was an Asian woman, and no, Billy was the Blue Ranger. Zach, I think it was Zach, was the Black Ranger. Zach the Black Ranger, is that right? I feel like it is, but I might be wrong, or maybe the actor's name was Zach. I don't know. I'm not gonna claim a certainty on that one. It's just I'm going on vague memories here, but they left the show to be replaced by a black female as the Yellow Ranger, and I think half Asian male as the new Black Ranger. And that was at the same time that the Green Ranger became the White Ranger. So those both happened at around the same arc. and the Red Ranger was just flat out replaced. Like, just new guy. They're just like, okay, well, I mean, yeah, he's out, so let's find another guy. I think I remember there being not a conspiracy exactly, but there being a story to that, like something happened that was a little up with that guy, so they had to get him out of there, but honestly I don't remember well enough to recite it. And if I get details wrong, it might sound slanderous? Yeah, slanderous, because I'm speaking. Also played the stuntman for the Yellow Ranger and Pink Ranger. Oh, no way! Jason, Zach, and Trini actors reportedly did not accept a salary offer. Oh, man. Okay, well, I don't buy that. Come on. It's too convenient. I'm willing to bet they paid them to leave. Or at least for Trini and Zach. Because what are the odds that they corrected a racism, even though they did it very obviously? I mean, not that it even really is racist, you know, like a perceivable racism. Because it's just like someone could make that joke. It's never how I perceived it growing up. It was just like Trini's the Yellow Ranger, Zach's the Black Ranger. That's it. It's not, there's no problem there, I don't really think. But I could understand why people would think it's like maybe that's not the best thing we should do. But I really did think it was very obviously that when they switched him. So it was like, oh, like that's what clued me into it. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess, yeah. But still, what's wrong with Trini and Zach? People were wondering why the Yellow Ranger didn't have a skirt, but the Pink Ranger did, because the Yellow Ranger. Oh, okay. That's funny. Oh, you mean like the Ranger? Okay, I get it. Like the actual, and by Ranger I mean like the suited version of the Ranger, I think is what we're talking about here. One thing that I was kind of thinking too, I don't know, like I met Vic twice, and so I don't know him super well, but Vic Mignogna I know was debating starting his own like voiceover studio for like doing imports of Japanese content and things like that. And I mean, not necessarily specifically Japanese, but my ideas are like that. I kind of wanted to just message him and be like, hey, I think he's messaged Matthias Linda, the guy who makes Chained Echoes, and just be like, you want us to get together a team of people to just voice act your game? Because I honestly think a lot more people would play it if you could just listen to the dialogue like this and not have to read through all of it. Now, granted, for me, I have no problem reading a JRPG. I have like zero problem at all. I actually kind of love it because I can just flip through the text. I can play it much faster because I don't have to wait for performances. But playing like that on stream is kind of tricky. But you know what I mean? Like that would be a kind of thing that would be interesting. Not necessarily voice acting localized content, but taking role-playing games, indie ones in particular, that exist and would probably never have the budget to do full-blown voice acting, and say, hey, why don't you give us permission to do this, and then we can sell it for your game as a mod or DLC or something, you know? Like, I think that would be kind of cool. Because, I mean, what would be the problem? It's like, hey, people can pay us $5 to add voice acting to your game. I mean, you might want to say, okay, there's no microtransactions in the game, and that's fine. But it's like, well, if paying for it is the difficult part, then you know, make it DLC. Because I would absolutely pay $5 to get a voice acted version of Chained Echoes, especially if it was done well. And honestly, like Vic himself would probably be pretty good at voicing Glenn. I mean, he can sound like a young dude pretty well. I mean, he did Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist and Brotherhood. So, yeah, I don't know. I should maybe reach out. I don't know if I have a direct line to him, though. He was a nice guy, though, and he seemed to enjoy my company, at least. Didn't seem to hate me. Raise your head with your right hand. Am I going to play F-Zero 99? Did that get announced or something? I've never heard of F-Zero 99. Did Nintendo just announce an F-Zero game? If so, awesome. But I know nothing about it. I would have literally heard it here first. But yeah, I like F-Zero. F-Zero, I'm not as good at F-Zero as I was with Wipeout. Wipeout was kind of my futuristic racer game. Sadly, it's kind of stuck on PlayStation. There, Sony, you want to put a game on PC that people will love? Wipeout. And give it VR support. Okay, just like that is a game you can make a lot of money on. Just Wipeout HD, the PS3 one, it's great. It's really good. Don't let anyone tell you it's not. It is. I've played a lot of it. Trust me, it's solid, man. It had a weird kind of free-to-play model, but when you get the Fury Edition, I think, like the complete one, it's and I mentioned it's a PS3 game, but it looks great. Wait, hold on. Have I played Wipeout in VR? No, it was 3D. That was it, because I played it on a 3D TV. But if you added VR support to what, I feel like they had. Did they honestly not make a Wipeout for PSVR? I might be remembering that wrong. I feel like they should have. That's like a layup. Why would you not? Oh man, Wipeout is kind of like F-Zero though. Made by Psygnosis, the studio that also made G-Police, and Colony Wars, which I did mention as having combat that I got kind of reminded of Colony Wars when playing the Starfield combat, and that made me pretty happy. I do like the space combat in Starfield for the most part. I think it's quite good. And Colony Wars is a really great PlayStation 1 series made by the same studio who made the Wipeout games, who also made a game called G-Police, which was almost like a helicopter game with took place in like a Blade Runner city. But it wasn't like a Desert Strike or Jungle Strike kind of helicopter game. It was a full-blown like Ace Combat type deal, and it was actually really good. I remember liking G-Police a lot. I should play G-Police again. Maybe 8 Mile. I feel like I remember it being very dark, and I feel like it could be the kind of game that doesn't age very well. I wonder what it runs like. Because Colony Wars tends to run quite well, from what I recall, but I don't remember G-Police being that impressive to look at. But a lot of the Wipeout games are 60 FPS, even on PS1, and yeah, man, it's good stuff. And hey, yeah, credit to Nintendo. They always make F-Zero 60 FPS, even on N64, where it is the only 60 FPS game. And that is why I will always appreciate F-Zero, if for no other reason. Oh, an F-Zero Battle Royale? Jeez, that's kind of crazy. Is it like the original F-Zero? Like which F-Zero is it? Or is it a new one? Oh, SNES F-Zero? Oh god, I'd suck. Yeah. I would definitely not be able to win. That's a tough game, man. Criticize them where they're at fault and award them for their wins when they get them. And that goes for every company, including EA, including Activision, Ubisoft. All of them sometimes have good stuff, and I think that the attitude of, well, they did this bad thing that I hate, so I'm not even going to admit that they did good stuff, or I'm never going to play it. And it's like, oh, well, I mean, it's your choice what to spend your money on, but if you're doing it because you're sticking it to them for making something bad, I don't think neglecting to reward that same company for then turning around and making something good is really the right mentality. Like if Disney turned it around and started making just well-written Marvel and Star Wars, like they're just like, okay, let's fire all these people, hire people who are good instead, I'd be on board with that. It's not like I hate Disney themselves. I hate what they've been doing with the stuff I like, or at least that I traditionally have liked. I'm not too into Star Wars these days or Marvel. Andor's still good though, and you should watch it. I don't think you need to watch Ahsoka though, not even a little bit. Unless you're a giant fan of Clone Wars and Rebels. Because I was a casual fan of both, and I don't think that was not enough to pull me through even the second episode of Ahsoka. Spider-Man will be on PC. Like I think that if you are thinking of buying a PS5 for Spider-Man and you already have a decent gaming PC, I'd say just wait it out. I mean, I can easily fill 2 years worth of game time that isn't playing Spider-Man by playing a whole bunch of other stuff. And honestly, like I didn't play Horizon Forbidden West. It's coming out in February on PC. I'll pick it up there, and I'll probably enjoy it a hell of a lot more than I would have if I played it on PS5 at launch. If for no other reason than I can use mouse and keyboard. Mouse and keyboard makes Horizon a much different game. Like you don't use the bullet time as often because you can shoot accurately, and it's kind of nice just to be able to like actually aim at the weak spots on the dinosaur robots that you want to aim at and actually hit them. It's a pretty good feeling. Does a lot to improve the game, I think. But I mean, you know, if you prefer to play with a controller, well, you can play with a controller too. And if you get a PS5 controller, you can even get the haptic feedback never before seen on a console. It's vibrating controller, but better. But people will act like it's the most incredible, revolutionary thing that's ever happened. I don't understand that mentality. I get it. I understand haptic feedback. It's not that I'm unsure of what it is or I've never experienced it, because that's often what you'll get. You'll get people that if you say, oh, the haptic feedback doesn't really make that much of a difference, people will be like, oh, you just haven't played it with this game or that game. And what you don't understand is it actually brings a whole lot more immersion in. And my whole deal is like, I don't know, like it sometimes creates a bit more immersion, but very often it feels like the triggers are fighting me when I'm trying to fire a gun in a video game, and I don't think that feels particularly great. Okay, like the trigger on a rifle isn't that hard to pull, everybody. You can do it pretty easily. It's not they're not generally things that require a whole ton of force. You just gotta squeeze. To Matt 11 on Rumble, you can always get better, man.
Because both of
I believe in you, because I believe in everyone when it comes to this type of game. It all just takes learning from the mistakes. Seeing a death, seeing where did I make the mistake, thinking, oh, I missed that parry, as opposed to I was too early on that parry, or I was too late on that parry. Try thinking in those terms. I mean, I always go to the J.K. Simmons Whiplash meme. Were you rushing or were you dragging? You know, it's like, be hard on yourself. Be your own J.K. Simmons for these type of games, where you want to know if you're playing your tempo or his tempo, because it's his tempo you need to play, not yours. And the he in question isn't J.K. Simmons, it's whichever enemy you're fighting, really. I'm serious, that's how you get good at these games. The get good thing isn't a meme, it's what you need to do. And it's not just saying, hey, be better at video games, chump. It's like, no, learn this one. That's what it means. It means get good at Lies of P. Not get good at Souls games in general, not get good at action games, not get good at video games overall. This game, get good at this game. Oh, Callisto Protocol. Why'd you say it? Why did you have to mention that game? Why did you say that name? Like, God, I hate that game so much. I was so disappointed by it. And Dead Space coming out afterwards, it made my prediction so wrong. I was 100% wrong. That was the most wrong I've ever been on anything. Because I said the words, I think Dead Space Remake is going to suck. The one I'm really looking forward to is the Callisto Protocol. Those are words which I said just over a year ago. Or around a year ago. Flash forward a year, Dead Space Remake was awesome. Like, really damn good. Way better than I ever expected it to be honest. Arguably just better than the original game in almost every way. It improves on every aspect of the original, which was weak, and it doesn't really change enough to be super significant. There's like a few minor inconsistencies that I would prefer went back to the original way, but at the same time, and honestly, thinking about them, they're nitpicks. It's like, well, I don't know, I thought the design of a few of the characters was better in the original, but like, it's like, well, it doesn't like matter. Like, it didn't change anything, and ultimately they do pretty much look like the same people. Gunnar Wright looks a little younger because it wasn't Gunnar Wright in the first game. It was just a different model, different dude entirely, actually. But he looks, I think, more age appropriate to Isaac than he did in Dead Space 2, where I really tried. I honestly really think they tried to make him look kind of like Commander Shepard from Mass Effect. But you know, Dead Space 2 model still looks quite good, I would say. And now I'm very excited to see what EA Motive, hopefully not under Disney, does with the Dead Space 2. However, I don't care what happens with Callisto Protocol 2, because the only chance I'm getting it is if I read from reviews that are like, read reviews myself. Like, I'm going to treat it like a customer. I'm not going to even treat it as, well, I on the original Callisto Protocol, so let's see if this one nails it. It's like, no. It doesn't even get that much from me. I'm not even going to give it that much respect to be like, yeah, well, I'll try and see if this one's any better. I can't, because I was so hurt by it. I honestly, it really bothered me. Oh, and actually, it wasn't even Nicole who I was talking about. I was more talking about, who would, like, you know, maybe, no, he did look good. Like, the, and Hammond, did Hammond look the same, or did he still look like the, no, it was Hammond. I'm pretty sure it's Hammond who I'm referring to. because oh man, I remember thinking, well, I prefer the original model for this one, and it wasn't Nicole, because Nicole was the one that people were bringing up, and I was like, I think she looks fine. Like I wasn't really bothered by Nicole's look at all. But I mean, hey, maybe that's the hot take. I don't know. While we were wishing that Elder Scrolls V would go back to being an actual RPG with classes and attributes, yeah, although I mean, I think that if they're going to have real-time combat, it would be really bold if they didn't, if they switched to turn-based. Holy hell, like dice rolls and did it like full Baldur's Gate style, but it's still first person, and you're still just you. But when combat encounters happen, it like zooms in and stuff, and you get like cool third-person shots happening. But people would be really pissed, man. They'd be angry as all hell. And with Starfield, it's pretty clear that they want to go in a more action direction with their combat, because like Starfield's combat's basically Fallout, but you don't have that, so it's an action game at that point, and it feels okay. You know, I don't think Starfield's a terrible playing game when you're in an indoor area and it's running well. Like the shooting's fine, but yeah, I know, and I think more like Oblivion would work. I just don't think they'd do it. And because like I mean, Skyrim is kind of like Oblivion with a bit more of an action tilt, and while I think it would be a good idea to roll that back, I don't think they'd ever do that. But I think that mixing real-time and turn-based is an interesting concept. I don't know that I've ever loved combat in a Bethesda game though. Like Oblivion had okay combat, but I like Skyrim's was fine. Like it was a little more actiony, but it was still okay. I thought it was just, I don't know, it was just I never really was doing Skyrim stuff for the combat encounters. I was doing it for the story that comes afterwards. So that's kind of always how I played the Bethesda games. And sometimes, you know, the combat is kind of fun, be it the more RPG-like systems of Fallout or Oblivion, where Fallout almost is turn-based in some ways, because VATS is pretty integral to combat of Fallout 3, New Vegas, and 4. Less so in 4. 4, you can kind of get away with playing it like a shooter, but in 3 and New Vegas, like, VATS is pretty important, man. I'm sure there's people who do play Fallout New Vegas without VATS, but without mods that clean that combat up, that would be a little rough. It's not horrendous, but it's definitely not great. Plays pretty well on a Steam Deck, though, actually. Fallout New Vegas on Steam Deck. Even vanilla, like not modded at all, plays pretty well. It's the thing about playing old games. They run nicely. So today, I was having an argument with someone about whether an award, like the video game awards specifically, should factor Metacritic score into how the games rank. And my argument was no, because I'm like, no. You have your panel debate the games. You maybe take the viewer vote tilt into account, or make it people's choice, you know, like, but that's a different kind of award, and that does kind of become more popularity contest. I think they should have a much larger sort of panel, and they should make people write and read essays on why a game ranks. Why, you know, because if you are trying to argue that a game should be Game of the Year, then I think you should be able to write 500 words to 1,000 words, like not a lot, but make an argument as to why you think the game is as good as it is, and that's your vote. And then everyone reads them, and they need to not be fanboys. They need to be like, okay, well, you know, reading some of these arguments for Liza P, for example, would be the one that I would write if I were ever, and there's no chance I'm ever going to be on one of these panels, but yeah, Liza P is probably the one I would write for. I was writing a bit about it today, so there may be a video in the works. I don't know, if Whoopi, if you need my help with the PC build, DM me on Twitter. I'll help you pick out parts. No charge. Don't have to stream it or anything either. Well, I mean, again, it's a nice little documentary they made here, but didn't show me a whole lot of game that seemed
If I've caused any
incredible.
existential anxiety with my presence, it might help to try reframing those stresses in a positive light. Think of me, perhaps, as a blue shell from your favorite kart racer. I might be wielded to ruthlessly destroy hard-earned positions, but we can still have fun. Maybe there's a lizard driving a little car. Isn't that nice?
Oh no, wait, I've already been up here. I'm guessing this is our dungeon, though, right? Rocky. Rocky. Daddy's trying to play Diablo. Rocky. Okay, well, we're doing okay so far. And then exalted too, okay. I've got a thing for that! We have to have the graphics cranked up. You're looking at our cities, baby. I'm like, yeah, but can I turn them down a little so that this game doesn't run like my PS5 is dying? Yeah, I will leave you in peace is definitely a better thing to say than legendary gloves, son! Felling to the blade of Pinocchio, son of Geppetto. Real boy. Also mouse. X-Ray Girl sometimes does joke that she gave birth to the puppies. At least I think it's a joke. Yeah! Oh my god, X-Ray Girl did it!